The impoverished campus heartthrob I had been funding tossed my bank card in front of everyone. He straightened his defiant spine, his gaze full of arrogance. I don't need the Lillian family's money. In that moment of stunned silence, I suddenly saw the barrage of comments. The way he slapped the female antagonist's face is so cool. Jasper really has been reborn. The female protagonist is in the crowd. This time, he won't let her misunderstand again. The female antagonist only knows how to use money to make him bow down. She made the male and female protagonists miss so many years in the previous life. It's okay. Once Jasper becomes successful, the first thing he'll do is bankrupt the Lillian family. The moment I saw the barrage of comments, my heartbeat froze for a second. The young man before me remained as proud and defiant as ever. Lillian, don't come looking for me at school anymore. It really annoys me. Words scrolled rapidly across the screen. The male lead came clean so quickly. In the previous life, the female lead saw the male lead accepting the female antagonist's affection here, misunderstanding their relationship, and left in anger. They missed each other for many years. Actually, the male and female leads have known each other since childhood. The female lead was once threatened by her gambling father's creditor. And it was Jasper who saved her. Now that there's no misunderstanding, the male and female leads should hurry up and make their feelings known. I instinctively glanced at the center of the crowd. In my line of sight, a delicate-looking girl was staring at us intently. Jasper's peripheral vision seemed to land on her too, though it was subtle. A sudden realization hit me. But I still hesitated, asking him one last time. Jasper, your mother is still waiting for the medical fees from the Lillian family. Are you sure you won't accept any more help from us? The words on the screen filled my vision instantly. The female antagonist is at it again. Threatening someone? How disgusting. Does she really think Jasper needs their money? He'll be a financial giant in the end. Right. The female antagonist is such a fool. In the previous life, the higher-ups of the Lillian family had already been infiltrated by the male lead. She only realized it near the end. She should just hand over the Lillian family to the male lead now. After all, she's an only child. Even if the group is given to her, she won't manage it. At the same time, Jasper frowned slightly, looking annoyed. How many times do I have to say it? You think I need this small amount of money? I lowered my gaze and silently picked up the bank card from the ground. Jasper snorted coldly, his tone mocking. Also, hadn't you so right, Jasper? I have someone I like. Be smart and stop bothering me from now on. With that, he strode toward Serena in the crowd. The girl from a poor background. Just like him. Mutual salvation is my favorite trope. Who understands that both the male and female leads had broken families and could only heal each other, offering warmth and support? The malicious female antagonist will never understand. The male and female leads are clearly made for each other. At this moment, Jasper firmly held Serena's hand, his eyes filled with cherished longing. He turned his head to glance at me, and his disdain was unmasked. A complex emotion gradually filled my chest. Based on the strange comments flashing across the screen, I finally understood. The once impoverished school heartthrob, who had been sponsored by the Lillian family for 5 years, harbored nothing but resentment toward our family. Looking back, the Lillian family had not treated him poorly. We paid for his education and helped his mother with expensive medical bills. I couldn't forget the night I found Jasper in the alley, covered in blood, his eyes broken and desperate when he looked at me. As the school's high mountain flower, no matter how much I helped him, he had always been cold and distant toward me. I thought it was just his nature, not realizing how much he hated me deep down. After a brief silence, I nodded firmly. Fine. I respect your choice. From now on, the Lillian family will withdraw all support. A flicker of surprise flashed across Jasper's sharp eyes. Serena pursed her lips and softly spoke. I know the Lillian family is powerful, but please don't use money to humiliate others. Jasper is so exceptional. I believe that even without your help, he can solve his current problems. Her pale face had a faint blush, but her tone was resolute. Jasper seemed to immediately recall his past glory. His eyes suddenly turned contemptuous. Lillian. Do you really think you can threaten me? Even the Lillian family group is just ants in my eyes. I never needed your help. If you want to take it back, go ahead. I don't care. His tone was as arrogant and disdainful as ever. With that, he tightly held Serena's hand and walked away without a glance back. The female antagonist must be going crazy now. Even when she throws money at him, the male lead doesn't even want to look at her. Jasper really doesn't need the help. In his previous life, he was an elite businessman. Money like that doesn't even faze him. The female antagonist is such a lapdog. She gave him resources and connections in the previous life, not knowing Jasper had already taken control of the Lillian family group. From the barrage of comments, I pieced together the story that had played out before. In the previous life, I failed to see his ambitions. Using countless resources and connections, not only did I nurture him into a rising star in the business world, but he also used this opportunity to take control of the Lillian family group. But now, he was just a poor student who had become accustomed to relying on help and living a comfortable life. I was genuinely curious without my assistance. How would he manage to change his circumstances on his own? Watching Jasper and Serena disappear into the crowd, I fell silent for a moment before dialing the housekeeper's number. Pack up Jasper's things and leave them at the door. Also, change the locks on the villa. That night, I received a call from Jasper. His voice, having fulfilled my absai, coming through the receiver, was dark and menacing. Lillian, what gives you the right to stop me from going home? I let out a cold laugh. Home? That's my home. The villa my dad bought for me. When did it become your home? If I remember correctly, after the Lillian family went bankrupt in the previous life. Didn't the male led by this villa? Exactly. This was clearly Jasper's house. It was just a matter of time. The female antagonist is digging her own grave. She's not properly flattering the male lead now. But when he rises to the top, even if she kowtows, it will be useless. She's throwing a tantrum like a spoiled rich girl, thinking she can control the male lead. Little does she know, Jasper already hates her. I ignored the indignant comments flashing across the screen. I only heard Jasper take a deep breath and grit his teeth. This villa has been my home for many years. You don't have the right to kick me out. I remind you, the right to stay here is granted by me. But the property rights belong to me. Lillian. My tone suddenly grew cold. Since we agreed to cut off the funding, I naturally have to revoke all the privileges I previously gave you. Jasper fell silent for a moment, his voice dropping heavily. Serena's place is leaking water. I'm just letting her stay here for one night. What if something happens to her outside at this hour? Lillian. Now is not the time for jealousy. He seemed to still be stuck in the past, when I used to obey his every word. His tone was full of reprimands, veiled in his words. It has nothing to do with me. I coldly tossed out the last line. After hanging up, I opened the surveillance at the villa door. I saw Jasper angrily slam his phone. You dare not listen to me? He then lowered his gaze and patiently comforted Serena. Don't worry. I'll find you another place to stay. Serena obediently nodded. Jasper. Don't be mad at her. Maybe Lillian doesn't want us to get too close. A cold glint passed through Jasper's eyes. Don't take her too hard. The Lillian family will eventually be handed over to me. Was he implying that my father would hand over the business he had built to an outsider? I backed out of the surveillance footage, a sudden laugh escaping me. Jasper rummaged through the bag at the door, pulling out the bank card I had given him. Serena, let me take you to a 7-star hotel, he said, lowering his head with a gentle demeanor. It'll be no worse than the villa. Serena's cheeks flushed slightly. Senior. Thank you. Jasper, standing tall, led her into the city's largest hotel. It was one of my uncle's properties. In the past, my affection for Jasper had been so obvious that everyone knew about it. Even the staff at this hotel, from top to bottom, treated him with great courtesy. As soon as they entered, the front desk bowed respectfully. However, when they saw Serena standing beside him, she froze for a few seconds. Jasper, is this your friend? Jasper accepted the surrounding warmth as a matter of course. his demeanor one of a privileged young master. "This is my personal matter. You don't need to ask about it." Under Serena's adoring gaze, he handed over the bank card, speaking briefly. "Swipe it." Jasper really lives up to being a CEO for so many years. His presence is overwhelming. Indeed. This face is a passport everywhere. I heard the cheapest rooms here cost nearly 5 figures. Look at that waitress's fawning face. This 7-star hotel is really something. Unfortunately, they still didn't know. The bank card had already been frozen. As the failure notification from the card reader echoed, Jasper's face immediately turned awkward. This can't be. The card reader must be broken. Due to his status. The front desk still kept a polite attitude. "Please think again. Perhaps there's another card you can use." Jasper seemed to suddenly remember the bank card he had thrown on the ground not long ago, when he arrogantly rejected my financial assistance. Breaking out of the memory. His tone lost patience. "Do I have to pay to stay? Are you blind? Don't you know who I am? Lillian must have told you about me before, right?" After hitting a wall, he knew to bring up my name. The front desk clerk froze, unsure how to respond. "Jasper. Long time no see." A man in a suit stepped out of the elevator. Jasper turned his gaze aside, then quickly returned to his high and mighty tone. "Harith. Your staff is so ill-mannered. Get me a presidential suite. I've already had Lawrence call ahead. Do it quickly before I lose my temper." The manager, having just received my call, couldn't help but chuckle at the sight of him pretending to be powerful. "Is that so? Actually, I just received notice that Lillian has decided to end the funding and revoke the privileges given to you. Lawrence said everything should be according to what the young lady wants." Harith deliberately emphasized the word funding. In the past, I had always claimed to the outside world that Jasper was my friend to protect his pride. Everyone just assumed that Jasper was a young master from a prominent family. But now, the surrounding eyes converged on him like sharp blades. Jasper's expression immediately stiffened. The online comments rushed past. "She really exposed him as a sponsored student in public. Doesn't the female antagonist care about the male protagonist's dignity? The female antagonist is just throwing a tantrum and trying to make Jasper bow down. Is it really necessary? Oh my god. No wonder the male protagonist hates her. I can hardly breathe imagining it. Male lead. Take control already. I really can't stand this vicious female lead anymore. And Lawrence is just an old fool." Serena's eyes reddened, clutching the hem of Jasper's shirt as she whispered. "Jasper. Lillian must be deliberately opposing us." Jasper's expression grew even more disgusted. "Does she just want to force me back to her side? This will only make me hate her more. When I take over the Lillian family's business, I'll make sure to repay today's humiliation 100 times over." Hearing these arrogant words, everyone around couldn't help but be stunned. But Jasper, oblivious to their reactions, continued to lead Serena out of the hotel. He pulled out the small change left in his pocket, his gaze growing colder. Perhaps it was the long stretch of smooth sailing in his past life that made him so unprepared for this kind of awkward situation. After a moment's thought, he lowered his eyes. "Serena, I'm sorry you'll have to settle for a motel tonight. Tomorrow, I'll submit the proposal. Once I get the investment, I'll have the money." The next morning, Jasper had already prepared the proposal. With the stack of documents in hand, he walked into the Stanley family group with an air of confidence. Finally, heading fulfilled wide sigh. The key plot point. In the previous life, the male-led used this proposal to earn the appreciation of the female-led's father. And because Jasper was so outstanding, the proposal immediately received massive investments, yielding impressive returns. This time, though, the male lead submitted the proposal to the rival company of the Lillian family. Serves him right. The Lillian family doesn't value talent, so prepare to bear the consequences. As the barrage of comments flooded the screen, I sat quietly in the car. Not long after, Jasper was kicked out, clutching the crumpled proposal. His face was obviously dark with frustration. Sean reported to me. "Miss. He didn't even get to see Stanley. It was Stanley's son who looked at the proposal and dismissed it as worthless." Before leaving, Spencer said that Jasper was sent by the rival company to cause trouble and even said, he said if Jasper ever shows up at the Stanley family group again, they'll break his legs. As Sean spoke, he lowered his head, almost unable to suppress a laugh. It was exactly as I expected. Before I awakened the barrage, I had already seen his proposal. Back then, I noticed that although the overall framework was good, the execution ideas were still too naive. So, I secretly drafted a revised version and planned to give it to him when the opportunity arose. In the previous life, he must have taken the revised draft to report to my father, since my father knew I liked Jasper. Even though there were some minor issues with the proposal, he let it slide. But the Stanley family had a reputation for being meticulous and unforgiving. I wasn't surprised that Jasper was kicked out. After failing at the Stanley family group, Jasper's expression was grim. He must have been struggling to understand why the same proposal that opened the door to wealth for him in the previous life was now being trampled into the mud. After thinking for a moment, he convinced himself that it was because the Stanley family lacked vision. In the afternoon, when Jasper knocked on the CEO's office, I was giving my father a back massage. The moment his eyes met mine, his movement froze. But he still handed over the proposal, speaking with strong determination. Lawrence, this is my proposal. I've come today to discuss a partnership with you. You only need to provide the funding, and the return rate will definitely satisfy you. As a partner, all I need is 30% of the shares in the Lillian family group. A scholarship student, boldly asking for company shares right off the bat. The barrage sped across the screen. Sigh. The Lillian family got too much for their money. Oh well. The male lead's career started with the Lillian family group, and in the end, the Lillian family will go bankrupt. This is the result of the female antagonist using money to coerce the male lead and breaking up our little couple. My father couldn't see those comments, but he raised an eyebrow in mild surprise. A flicker of displeasure in his eyes. But, considering I was present, he still took the time to read through the proposal. The problems are too many. It doesn't meet my expectations. This childish plan will be hard to implement. After a moment, my father gave his response. That old man. How dare he speak like that? Serves you right. You're going bankrupt. Serves you right to be hospitalized with a stroke. My God. Just because he didn't cater to the Lillian family's wishes. You're blocking the male lead's path? The words on the screen made my chest tighten. I held my breath, suppressing the discomfort that welled up inside me. Given my father's usual temper, today, he still showed some respect to Jasper. But Jasper clearly couldn't accept the result. Furious, he slammed the proposal on the ground. How is this possible? Do you know how much benefit this proposal could bring to the group? Think carefully. If you reject me today, tomorrow this proposal will be presented to other companies. As his arrogant voice echoed, I quickly dialed the secretary. Someone's causing a scene. Bring a few security guards up. Jasper seemed to suddenly realize something, shooting me a disdainful glance before sneering. I get it now. You and your father have been colluding. Right? You just want to force me to make me rely on you, and later work for the Lillian family. Right? Typical. Same old tricks. I'm telling you. I already have someone I like, and I'll never marry Lillian. Struggling out of the security guard's grasp, he shot them a warning look. Get lost. Take your filthy hands off me. Jasper contemptuously adjusted his clothes. As he stepped out of the office, his phone rang sharply. Jasper. Did you secure the investment? Serena's voice sounded anxious on the other end. Jasper bit his lip, frowning slightly. There's a bit of a problem, but it'll be done soon. What's wrong? What happened? Serena continued. We've already used up the prepped medical fees. If we want to continue using the equipment, we'll need to pay more. Otherwise, Aunt I will have to be transferred to a regular ward. Jasper's gaze instantly turned cold. What? The medical fees? Hasn't Lillian always been the one paying? Realizing he had inadvertently said my name, his face darkened. While walking out of the group building, he spoke softly to Serena. Don't worry. I'll think of something. Rest assured. No matter how much Lillian tries to threaten me, I won't bow to her. Through the high-rise glass window, I watched Jasper's proud and stubborn back slowly disappear from view, emotions swirling in my chest. Lillian, you should have cut ties with him a long time ago. My father also lowered his gaze, his eyes deep, looking back over the years. My father had always disapproved of me getting too close to Jasper. He believed that since Jasper had accepted help, he should at least be grateful to the Lillian family, not always acting so high and aloof. But I stubbornly believed that Jasper was just too proud and lacked the ability to express himself. Now, it seemed, I had misjudged him and let the wolf into the house. Jasper had grown accustomed to a life of luxury. In his previous life, he had climbed to the position of CEO of the corporation by stepping on the resources of the Lillian family. Now, he could not accept the idea of selling his labor and part-time jobs. In the days that followed, he sold off the luxury bags and watches I had once given him. The high-end medical equipment keeping his mother alive cost an astronomical amount every day it was in use. For the Lillian family, it was nothing. But for Jasper, it was an astronomical medical expense. He picked up the planning proposals again, running around every day to secure partnerships. But without connections or resources, he was nothing more than an ordinary, nameless person, holding a flawed proposal. He spent his days running between office buildings, his once straight back slowly beginning to bend. The next time we met, I was discussing a collaboration with the CEO of a company when Jasper suddenly appeared in my line of sight. His brows were lowered, and the sharpness in his eyes had been almost entirely worn away by life. The CEO beside me immediately grew cold. Not you again? He turned to me, explaining. This guy comes to me every day and refuses to leave. Lillian, don't mind it. Let's talk somewhere else. At first, Jasper seemed stunned, his hand tightening around the proposal. Then, let out a low sigh. As if making a decision, he took a step forward. Lillian, can I have a few minutes? There was a humility in his demeanor that I had never seen before. Gavin raised an eyebrow in surprise. Little Lawrence, is this your friend? Gavin's small factory had long cooperated with the Lillian family, and he was deeply grateful to my father. Jasper should have known that with just a word from me, I could determine his fate. At that moment, seeing the faint pleading look in his eyes, I simply said, my expression indifferent. Sorry, I don't know him. Since the appearance of the comments, my mindset had changed. In the past, Jasper always told me, I hate businessmen who are full of the smell of money, who are skilled in scheming and counting every penny. To prove that I was not one of them, I focused on my studies and almost never got involved in the family business. Now, however, I was starting to handle business on my own, beginning to calculate the small profit margins in contracts, not yielding even an inch. Although the comments were morally misguided, they did make one thing clear. As the only daughter of the Lillian family, if I didn't learn to take over my father's business, I would soon have countless wolves circling, eyeing the vast family fortune. I heard that Jasper was still running around for his mother's treatment. All the so-called friends who had once been close to him had cut ties. Only Serena still remained by his side, unwavering. One day, I went to the hospital to visit an uncle on behalf of my father. As I walked out of the ward, the comments suddenly appeared again. The male lead's mother just passed away. Why is the female antagonist here? How disgusting. It was the same in the previous life. When the male lead's mother passed away, she pretended to comfort him. Yeah. How could the Lillian family, so rich, not be able to save Jasper's mother? The male lead started hating the Lillian family after his mother's death in the previous life. This time, she's just taking it out on the male lead. How can she joke with someone's life? The most vicious woman's heart. I froze for a moment. They didn't know that Jasper's mother had a rare blood disease with little chance of recovery, relying on expensive equipment and blood banks for survival. Back then, all I could do was extend her life a little longer with money. But at that time, Jasper had rejected my help with his own words. Jasper's voice suddenly came from behind me. Lillian, I have something to say to you. We hadn't seen each other for many days. His face was as pale as paper, his eyes weary. He no longer had the air of a privileged young master. I pressed my lips together, at a loss for words. Jasper leaned against the window, silently lighting a cigarette. After a long pause, he let out a deep sigh. Sorry. Lucas was the first to tell me about my mother's illness. I never expected, after all this time, that not only could I not save her, but I also realized I had hated the wrong person and chosen the wrong path. Amidst the swirling smoke, Jasper's profile was sharp and defined, but his eyes were filled with deep exhaustion. What is the male lead doing? Is he hinting at regret? I'm dropping this show. Thanks. I'm a firm believer in the main pairing and have a serious emotional purity complex. He's been so impatient with Serena lately, that now he's confessing to this female antagonist. There's no way to redeem this. In the midst of the barrage of criticism, my voice became hoarse. So what? He crushed the cigarette in his fingers and looked at me, his gaze steady. At this point, saying sorry is too late. But I still hope to get your forgiveness. If he hadn't been reborn, if I hadn't seen the comments, I might have still been stubborn, eventually leading to the family's ruin and my father being hospitalized. From now on, let's not disturb each other anymore. I averted my gaze, picking up my bag and preparing to leave. The petite figure suddenly blocked my way. Lillian, you can't leave. You deliberately cut off the medical funds and killed Jasper's mother. Don't you feel guilty? Before me, Serena's face was full of indignation. Her beautiful eyes were filled with accusations. Seeing my silence, Serena grew more frustrated. Because you can't get Jasper's affection. You want to make him regret it this way? Because of your cruelty, Jasper's mother died. Are you satisfied? I coldly reminded her. He rejected my help with his own words. Besides, the Lillian family supported him for 5 years and covered all his mother's medical expenses. What about you? What have you contributed? Serena's eyes suddenly reddened, her voice trembling. I know. I don't come from a good family, and I can't afford such expensive medical bills. But that's not a reason for you to decide someone's life or death. Today, you have to apologize to Jasper. My tone was calm. I don't owe anyone anything. And I'm busy. You'd better move aside. Serena still stood in my way, arms outstretched. In the tense silence, Jasper's cold voice rang out. Let her go. Serena's eyes wide and in surprise, as if she still wanted to argue. I said, let Lillian go. Jasper's gaze was indifferent as he looked at her. Serena froze for a few seconds before finally stepping aside. After that day, I didn't see Jasper again. I heard that he had faced repeated setbacks, endured continuous blows, and his mental state had begun to deteriorate. He would sometimes speak to himself. Serena remained by his side at first, until one day, during a heated argument, Jasper mockingly exposed the scars of her past, finally driving away the leading lady he once cherished. Meanwhile, my life returned to its peaceful rhythm. The frequency of the comments grew lower and lower until they finally disappeared entirely. According to the original trajectory of my life, I embarked on my journey to study abroad, continuing my studies in business management. As I was about to board the plane, someone suddenly called my name. I instinctively turned around. A line of text slowly appeared in the air. Congratulations. You saved yourself. This is the purpose of my appearance. On the wedding day, my boyfriend's mother suddenly changed her mind and said that she wouldn't give the betrothal gift of 88 yuan. She also asked me to transfer the ownership of one of my houses to my boyfriend's younger brother, so that he could find a girlfriend. Otherwise, they wouldn't come to pick me up for the wedding. I directly cancelled the wedding banquet. They thought they could manipulate me just because I was pregnant. No way. After waiting on the wedding bed for 2 hours, I picked up my mobile phone and took a look. The originally scheduled time to enter the door was 7:18, but it was already 7:30 now. There was still no movement outside the door. Hank was already late. I was extremely worried, and my palms were slightly sweaty. The relatives and friends around were whispering. The cameraman whispered to his assistant. It's really interesting. This is the first time I've come to record a wedding and encountered a late groom. Could something have happened on the road? My aunt carefully glanced at me. My second uncle beside her quickly nudged her, "Watch your mouth." My mother looked anxious. She squeezed through the crowd and whispered in my ear, "What's going on with Hank? Do we need to make a phone call to ask? Don't tell me something really happened on the road." My heart sank. I couldn't care less about the rules. I lifted my bridal veil, took out my mobile phone, and called Hank. The phone rang a few times and was quickly answered. I asked anxiously, "What's the matter? Why haven't you come yet?" However, it wasn't Hank who answered the phone but his mother. His mother answered irrelevantly. Ivy, can you bring back the betrayal gift of 88? Are you on today?" I was stunned. I didn't know why his mother suddenly brought this up. I could only patiently explain. "Mom, according to our local custom, the betrothal gift is not taken back. But I definitely won't keep this money at home. I'll save it for Hank and me to use in our future life. Don't worry." His mother laughed. Her voice shrill, "Ivy, look. You're pregnant now. You young people are so extravagant that you don't know how to save money. You bring the money back, and Mom will save it for you. Then we can use it as the children's education fund later." I suddenly realized that the whole family was just waiting for my call. No wonder they suddenly gave in after arguing about the betrothal gift for over a month. So they were waiting to take advantage of me on the wedding day. I looked up and scanned the people in the room. Everyone was quietly looking at me and listening to my phone call. I didn't want to make my wedding too embarrassing. So I bit the bullet and said, "Mom, let's discuss this matter later. Please let Hank come to pick me up first. The relatives and the cameraman are all waiting here. It's already past the scheduled time." However, Hank's mother still wouldn't let it go. "You young people are so thoughtless. You'd better listen to your elders more. Could I possibly harm you?" I looked up at my mother. She was full of worry. Her hands clenched together as she stared at me and mouthed, "What's going on?" I bit my lip. The hotel had been reserved. And the invitations had been sent out. Relatives, friends, and colleagues were probably all on their way. If something went wrong today, it wouldn't just be my face that would be lost, but also my parents. I clenched my fists and took a deep breath. "Okay, heading fulfilled wed session. Mom, I'll do as you say. I'll bring back the 88. You on today?" I thought this would be the end of it. But I didn't expect that just as I took a step back, his mother said again, "That's my good daughter-in-law. By the way, there's another thing. You know that Hank's younger brother is also dating a girlfriend. The girl's father is a leader. And she's quite a match for our gang." I was terribly worried. I felt that my makeup on my head had been smeared by sweat. I didn't know what his mother was talking about at this time. So I could only listen patiently. Hank's mother said in a commanding tone, "I think the girl is okay. But the girl's family requires gang to have a wedding house." My heart sank. And I involuntarily raised my voice. "What do you mean? Give the wedding house that belongs to Hank and me to his younger brother? How could that be possible?" Hank's mother chuckled. "Mom heard from Hank that a few years ago, your family bought a house for you in the city. Right? By Shui Pavilion? It's also about 100 square meters or so. Isn't it? You don't live there now. So just let his younger brother use it as a wedding house. A little over 100 square meters is a bit small but our family doesn't mind. We'll make do with it for now. They can change to a bigger one later." I was completely shocked by her words, and didn't know what to say for a moment. After a while, my fingernails dug deeply into my palms. I suppressed my anger and said, "Mom, give the phone to Hank." I wanted to see whether this was just his mother's idea or the whole family's idea. If Hank thought the same way, then it would be better not to get married. Hank's mother snorted confidently. After a while, Hank's voice came from the other end of the phone, "Ivy." I closed my eyes and reluctantly suppressed my anger and whispered, "Hank, what on earth does your mother mean? Does it mean that if I don't get the house to your brother today, we won't get married? Is that what you think too?" I thought Hank would side with me. After all, in terms of all aspects, I was much better than him. I graduated from a top 985 university, while he graduated from an ordinary first-tier university. I'm 172 centimeters tall and used to be in the school's modeling team. He's also 172 centimeters tall, And I even looked taller than him when I wear flat shoes. Not to mention that I'm the only child in the city. My family has several houses. And both of my parents have formal jobs. While his family is from the countryside. And his parents don't even have social security. Since we decided to get married, his mother had been causing trouble. First, she said that 150 yuan for the betrothal gift was too much and it should be cut in half, and only 88 yuan could be given. Then she said that the family had no money for the down payment, and the wedding house had to be mine. Later, she said that there was no money on hand, and my family had to pay for the wedding banquet. For the sake of being with Hank, I endured all these things, and even begged my parents, who were against it, to give in. I thought he was grateful to me and understood me. But I didn't expect that my repeated concessions were met with more and more excessive demands. Hank was silent for a while and then muttered, "Ivy, I only have this one younger brother. Gang is the heir of the old Hank family. How could I get married while watching my younger brother stay single? Your family has so many houses. After we get married, we'll all be one family. As the elder brother and sister-in-law, we should help my younger brother." I finally couldn't hold it back. I didn't care about the looks of the relatives around me and shouted into the phone, "Hank, are you out of your mind? That house was bought by my parents. What does it have to do with your family? I have to provide a wedding house for our marriage, and also for your younger brother?" As soon as these words came out, the room instantly became quiet. All the relatives looked over in unison. My mother's face turned pale, and her body swayed. Hank was stunned for a moment. And then he roared even louder than me, "Ivy. So what if your family provides the house? Just because you're rich? You think you're so great?" I knew that your family had never looked up to me from the beginning. I was so angry that I was shaking all over. Then his mother shouted beside him, "Hank, don't spoil her. She's tied down by the child. What are we afraid of? Ivy, I'm telling you, if you don't agree today, Hank won't go. I'd like to see if your parents can afford to lose face with you being pregnant." Hearing this, I finally couldn't suppress the anger that was surging in my heart anymore. The joints of my hand holding the phone hurt. I said word by word, "Hank, don't regret it." "Regret? I'm telling you, Ivy, you're already pregnant. Besides me, who else would want you? Do you still think you're a young girl? If you make a big fuss, let's see if you're afraid or not." I wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes randomly and didn't say anything more. I hung up the phone abruptly. My mother came over. Her brows tightly furrowed. "Did Hank's mother cause some trouble again?" I said with a sob. His mother said that she wanted me to bring back the betrothal gift and transfer the ownership of the house to his younger brother. Otherwise, they wouldn't get married. My mother's face immediately turned deathly pale and then flushed red. The anger in her eyes couldn't be suppressed and burst out. Her lips trembled with anger. "If they don't want to do it, then don't. Our family is already losing money by marrying off our daughter. And yet their family is still so shameless." I tried my best to hold back my tears. Picked up my mobile phone and called the hotel. "Sorry, we won't hold the wedding." The hotel staff was stunned for a moment, probably not expecting that the wedding wouldn't be held suddenly when it was about to start. He said with some embarrassment, "Miss Ivy, it's very difficult for us. At this time, we can't refund your money." I forced myself to stay calm and said, "It's okay. If it can't be refunded, then forget it." Things had come to this point, and a few tens of thousands of yuan didn't matter anymore. Basically, I was like marrying myself for this wedding. I didn't ask for the 3 pieces of gold jewelry, nor did I ask for a diamond ring. The ring on my hand was still a Moy's auntie ring that Hank bought for a few hundred yuan. I didn't ask for a house or a car. I only asked for the betrothal gift of 88 yuan just for the sake of saving face. However, what my family had paid was far more than 188 yuan. I made concessions for the sake of our relationship, but they took advantage of my kindness and became more and more demanding. The whole family tried to suck blood from me. Now they even asked me to give the house bought by my parents to his younger brother. I never expected gratitude for what I had done because I regarded them as family and didn't want to calculate I didn't expect that what I got in return was being pushed further and further and our endless greed. I'm really fed up. After a chaotic day, the wedding was finally cancelled. I don't know how many phone calls I made and how many apologies I offered. Our old Ivy family's face was completely lost on this day. At night, I cried and hugged my mother. She gave birth to me and raised me. Instead of letting her enjoy a happy life, I made her worry at her old age. However, my parents didn't blame me. They just stroked my head and comforted me. Well, it's better this way. If something like this happened after getting married, we really wouldn't even have a place to cry. People of the same kind belong to the same family. Ivy, better days are still ahead of you. I thought this would be the end of it. But early the next morning, Hank and his mother actually came to our door. His mother pounded on the door heavily, and her loud voice came through the door. Ivy, Ivy. What did you mean yesterday? Just because of a few words, you cancelled the wedding? Where do you want our old Hank family to put our face? All the relatives came, but you cancelled the banquet? Ivy, come out. The sound insulation in our old neighborhood is very poor. The old neighbors around have known each other for decades. With his mother shouting like this, the whole building probably heard it. My father was so angry that he threw his mobile phone and stirred to open the door. Hank didn't even greet my father. He frowned and said to me, Ivy. Really? My mother didn't make any excessive demands. Why did it have to turn out like this? I sat on the sofa dumbfounded. Well, this was an eye-opener. It seemed that his family thought it was all my fault. Without giving me a chance to speak, his mother chimed in again. Ivy. Don't you know what situation you're in? You've been with my son for so many years. And now you're pregnant. Once it gets out, who else would want you? Why don't you quickly cling to my son, but instead make trouble? Are you out of your mind? I already heard the noise of the neighbors opening their doors to watch the fun. I wanted to go and close the door first to avoid losing face. But his mother stood at the door with her hands on her hips and deliberately raised her voice. I was so angry that blood rushed to my head. Unable to hold it back any longer, I pointed at his mother's nose and shouted loudly. It was you who didn't come to pick up the bride yesterday. My family provided the wedding cars and the wedding house, paid for the wedding banquet, and I didn't even ask for the betrothal gifts. Now you're being so pushy and asking for a house. Do you really think your son is worth a fortune? I'd rather abort the baby than marry your son. Hank's mother became even more furious. Stop pretending. It's just a house. Your family has so many houses. What's the big deal about giving one away? Besides, after getting married, everything in your family will belong to our Hank anyway. Hank was startled and then quickly covered his mother's mouth. Mom, I suddenly realized. No wonder his mother dared to be so insatiable. She had always been planning to take advantage of our family's property as if there would be no one left in our family. After finding me, the only daughter in the city, they really thought that everything in my family would belong to them in the future. So what was wrong with taking a house in advance? I turned to look at my parents. My mother was trembling all over, her face turning blue and red alternately. She looked as if she was about to pass out. Hank's mother was still ranting. I'm telling you, Shen Xiaoyan, you're a failure as a woman in this lifetime. You didn't even give birth to a son. She looked smug, seeming to be very proud of giving birth to 3 daughters and then 2 sons. Who will take care of you in your old age and perform the funeral rites for you in the future? You'll still have to rely on my son. Both of my parents were educated people and college graduates. They had never seen such a shrewish behavior before. They were so angry that their lips were trembling, and they couldn't even say a word while pointing at her. I immediately flew into a rage. It was okay to scold me, but not my parents. Anyway, having fulfilled my inside, I didn't plan to get married anymore. So I just got angry and bold and went up and kicked Hank's mother out. You old bitch. When you die, I'll definitely find someone to wail at your funeral. His mother never expected that I would dare to touch her. She sat on the ground for a while in a daze and then started wailing loudly. Someone's hitting me. Someone's hitting me. My daughter-in-law is hitting her mother-in-law. Help. Hank also frowned and rushed up, raising his hand to slap me. Ivy. How dare you touch my mother? Before he could finish speaking, my father rushed over, picked up the broom at home and hit him with it. Get out. Otherwise, I'll call the police and accuse you of picking quarrels and provoking troubles. My mother simply took out her mobile phone and pretended to dial 110. Now Hank was scared. He was afraid that if the matter got bigger, it would affect his job. My usually gentle mother couldn't hold back at this time. Hank, don't you really think our family is easy to bully? There's nothing more to say now. Just consider that our family was blind. Hurry up and take your mother and get out of here. Fine. If we don't get married, then we don't. Ivy, cut out a little sigh. Just wait. We'll see. Hank left a harsh word and then looked back at me with a venomous look. His mother still wanted to make a scene by throwing tantrums. But Hank was afraid that my family would really call the police. So he quickly helped her up and dragged her away. That night, lying on the bed, I had mixed feelings. It wasn't that I hadn't made sacrifices for Hank. However, everyone has a bottom line. For the sake of loving him, I could make concessions. But I couldn't let my bottom line be trampled on again and again. During the 4 years in college, Hank had a monthly living expense of 500 yuan, while I had 5,000 yuan. My parents thought that girls should be raised well and that we shouldn't be stingy with money. But actually, he wasn't like this at the beginning. Later, after he knew about my living expenses, his mother reduced his living expenses from 1,500 yuan to 500 yuan. He only told me that his family's financial situation was not good, but I clearly knew what his mother meant. It was nothing more than thinking that since he was with me, it would be a waste not to spend my money and take advantage of my family. During these 4 years, he almost let me pay for all his needs. His clothes and shoes, the meals we ate out, and even when he showed off by treating his roommates to dinner. It was all paid for by me. 5,000 yuan a month for living expenses was quite a lot, but when shared between 2 people, it was far from enough. At the age when girls love to look beautiful, I didn't buy myself a set of good cosmetics. After graduating from college, Hank told me that he had just started working and that his colleagues all drove luxury cars. He said that it would be much easier to negotiate business if he had a good car. However, his family could only afford to buy a second-hand Honda Fit, so he always failed to negotiate business when going out. He asked me to think of a way. Of course, I knew that the success of business negotiations depended first and foremost on one's ability, not on a good car. But because of love, I agreed. I asked my parents for a BMW worth more than 500 yuan on the pretext that I needed a car. This car had been driven by Hank ever since. And I took the subway to and from work by myself. Later, he said that his parents were poor and that they worked hard farming every day and couldn't afford to buy a house. So I pestered my parents again and asked them to buy a wedding house for me. Now when I think about it, I really wish I could go back in time and slap myself hard. My parents might as well have raised a piece of barbecued pork instead of me. However, Hank wasn't like this at the beginning. At first, he was especially nice to me and took good care of me in every way. He was the kind of man that others would call a perfect man, who would travel across most of the city at 2 o'clock in the morning just to buy me a cake because I said I wanted to eat one. He wasn't actually the type of man I liked, but I gradually fell for his kindness to me and slowly developed feelings for him. Later, for the sake of this relationship, I made concessions again and again. When did he change? Was it because I made concessions time and time again that his appetite grew bigger? Or was it because he thought he had me under his control and then revealed his true nature? I didn't know. I bit my lip and touched my lower abdomen. There was a little life growing inside at this moment. Unfortunately, having fulfilled me, I couldn't keep it. The next day, accompanied by my mother, I went to have an abortion. At the moment when I got on the operating table, my heart was trembling. It hurt as if 10,000 arrows were piercing through my heart, and I could hardly breathe. I hadn't expected this baby before, but its unexpected arrival made me have a strange feeling in my heart. When I passed by baby stores while shopping, I would go in and take a look, imagining how these cute little clothes would look on it. I hoped that it would take more after me, and also hoped that it would look more like Hank. I had dreamed of what it would look like at night. It was a tiny little thing, calling me mommy. But now, I had to kill it with my own hands. I closed my eyes and shed tears a sec and before falling into a stupor. After being discharged from the hospital, I took a sick leave for a period of time and rested at home. What recovered was not only my body, but also my spirit that was riddled with holes and exhausted. After a month like this, I blocked all of Hank's contact information and finally calmed down a little. After the confinement period was over, I went back to work in the unit. I thought that after the storm had passed, I could start anew with peace of mind and stay away from that scumbag. But I didn't expect that Hank's mother started making trouble again. She actually came to my unit to make a scene. On the first day back at the unit, I had a lot of work piled up. I was busy writing materials when suddenly I heard a shrill scream at the door. "Ivy. You ill-mannered thing. Come out here." I shuddered all over and suddenly turned my head. I saw Hank's mother pushing the security guard with all her might. With a distorted expression, shouting and cursing loudly. "Stinky doorman. Get out of my way. Don't stop me. Where's the person in charge? The person in charge should come out. Look at what kind of riffraff you've hired." My colleagues had never seen such a situation before. One by one, they all looked up, stopped working, and stretched their necks to watch the fun. Carl beside me gently poked me and asked hesitantly, "Sister Ivy, is that your husband's?" "No, is that your ex-boyfriend's mother?" When we got engaged, I had posted a group photo on Moments, and most of my colleagues had seen it. I immediately felt my face turn red with embarrassment. It was already embarrassing enough when this kind of thing happened at home, let alone outside. I just felt like my face had been slapped and stepped on. The manager heard the noise and also came out of the office. He was a bit surprised and quickly stepped forward and said, "Auntie, what are you doing? We're working normally. Your behavior will affect our work. If there's anything, let's talk privately. Come to my office." "I won't go in. I'll just say it here. Everyone, judge for me." Hank's mother went crazy. She pointed at me and shouted, "It's this woman who cheated in marriage and for money. She did everything she could to cling to my son. She used her pregnancy to blackmail our family. On the wedding day, she turned on us just like that. My son is so unlucky. The wedding invitations had been sent out, but then it was cancelled. Our family's face has been completely lost. I don't want to live anymore." With that, she sat on the ground and started throwing tantrums. The colleague who had always been at odds with me whispered, "I heard a while ago that the wedding didn't happen. It seems that Ivy is really a bad person. Maybe she thought her boyfriend was poor and went after someone richer." I immediately burned with anger and stood up with a whoosh. This damn old hag. She didn't get enough of being beaten last time. Today, I'll definitely let her see why the flowers are so red. I strode up to his mother and said expressionlessly, "You said I cheated in marriage and for money. What money did I cheat you out of exactly?" His mother was stunned for a moment and then continued to make a scene. "The betrothal gifts. You cheated us out of our betrothal gifts." Now the colleagues also started whispering to each other, looking at me with disdain in their eyes. I clenched my fists, took a deep breath to calm down and said, "At first, we agreed on 200 yuan for the betrothal gifts. You said your family didn't have the money and offered 88 yuan. Fine. I agreed. Then you wanted me to take this 88 yuan back and use it for your younger son's wedding. I already gave it back to you long ago. What money do I owe you? Your coffin money?" Hank's mother's face instantly turned red with anger. She pointed at my nose and cursed, "Little slut. What are you talking about? You're a thing without a mother or father." I ignored her and continued, "Your son has neither a house nor a car. He's been relying on me to support him all these years. And you only give him 500 yuan for living expenses a month." Then I turned my head to look at my colleagues and said, "Everyone, please judge for me. What can 500 yuan a month do for a grown man? Your son still wants to buy a computer and basketball shoes. And I paid for all of them. Over the years, I've spent over 100,000 yuan just on living expenses. There's no such way to live off a woman like this. My colleagues nodded one after another. Team leader Sister Wang simply sneered and said, "Lady, your scheme is so blatant that even people in the US can hear it. It seems your family wants to take advantage of your daughter-in-law's family until there's nothing left." Another older colleague also found it funny and said, "I've seen men who live off women. But I've never seen one who does it so shamelessly. This is really an eye-opener." I went on. "You even forced me to give one of my parents' houses to your younger son for his wedding. If I didn't, he wouldn't get married. What? Is your son for sale and sold to my family?" I stared at Hank's mother, whose eyes were blazing with anger and showed a sarcastic smile. I said with disdain, "Your good-for-nothing son is worth a house? You're dreaming," knowing she was in the wrong. Hank's mother was so choked by my scolding that she couldn't say a word. Her face flushed red and she suddenly stood up. She stopped rolling on the ground and raised her hand to slap me in the face. "Is this how you talk to your elders? Today I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of your parents." Before her slap could land, I firmly grabbed her wrist and stared at her expressionlessly, speaking word by word. "If you lay a finger on me today, I'll definitely make Hank pay. Have you forgotten who arranged his job?" After hearing what I said, Hank's mother instantly stammered. She probably remembered that with Hank's undergraduate degree from a second-tier university, he couldn't find a good job. It was my father who arranged for him to enter a friend's company. You, what the hell are you talking about? Although our family's conditions are average, our Hank is capable. He achieved everything through his own hard work. I'm just worried about my child. Otherwise, why would our old Hank family let someone like you enter our door? What a joke about achieving things through his own hard work." Did she even believe what she said? I was tired of watching this disgusting mother and son continue their act. Finally, hätte so fällt mir sigh. I fixed my eyes on her and said, "I'm telling you, don't ever use the child to blackmail me again. I've already aborted it. Return my car to me within 3 days and stop harassing me. If you don't return it within 3 days, I'll call the police." Then I turned around and left. Upon hearing that I had aborted the child, Hank's mother was stunned. After a moment, she screamed, Ivy, stop right there. What right do you have to abort my grandson? Explain it to me. Compensate me for my mental losses." I couldn't bear it anymore. A leopard can't change its spots. Have you had enough? Team leader I throw her out and don't let her in again. The manager shouted for the security guards. This time, the tall and burly security guard, who was nearly 6 feet 3 inches tall, didn't hold back. He dragged her out like she was a little chick. While being dragged away, her mother was still constantly hurling abuse at me. Fortunately, the manager knew my parents and was aware of my family's connections, so he didn't blame me. He just sighed when passing by me and said, Ivy, you should be more careful when choosing a man. I'll give you 2 days off. Go home and take a rest. Come back when you calm down." I nodded, feeling grateful in my heart. And I quickly packed my things and prepared to go home. But I still couldn't swallow this anger. Why could his mother trample on me again and again just because she was shameless? If Hank didn't pay the price, his family would keep causing trouble. If they dared to mess with me, they had to pay the price. When I went back in the afternoon, I listed all the expenses I had spent on Hank over the years. I also compiled all the transfer and payment records, photos of Hank showing off in my car, and the chat records where his mother insisted that my family transfer the house to his younger brother or else he wouldn't get married into a long Weibo post. To be honest, I was shocked when I calculated it myself. I never expected that over the years I had spent so much money on Hank. He often complained to me about being poor and asked for gifts. In total, all kinds of transfers and gifts added up to more than 200 yuan. I gritted my teeth, almost wanting to slap myself. Then I posted the long Weibo post online and bought trending topics. Help! I spent over 200 yuan on my boyfriend and for years. My boyfriend drives my car, lives in my house, and even asks me to bring the betrothal gifts back and forces me to transfer my parents' house to his younger brother for his wedding. Otherwise, he won't get married. After I broke off the engagement in a fit of anger. His mother came to my workplace to make a scene. What should I do? At first, the Weibo post didn't cause much of a stir. It was only after I bought the trending topics that the popularity started to soar. When I woke up in the morning, my phone was almost blown up. Dozens of missed calls and countless messages kept refreshing on my phone screen. I slowly sat up and turned on my phone. Sure enough, all the groups we were in an uproar. My Weibo post was synchronized to the same city, and many of my university classmates who followed me also saw it. They forwarded the long Weibo post to the university group, Hank's work group, and even the group of residents in the community where we used to live. Except for a small number of trolls. Most people were condemning Hank. Damn. This is really an eye-opener. What a disgrace to men. Living off his wife. Using his wife's things. And even asking his wife to pay for his younger brother's wedding house. He's not a husband. He's like a biological son. I know this guy. He used to drive a BMW and told us it was his. After a long time, it turned out to be his girlfriend's. Ridiculous. I smiled as I looked at all the messages. In these long Weibo posts, I hardly revealed any of my own information. Even if some people knew me, I would only appear as a victim. With such a big fuss, Hank was bound to lose his job, and his reputation was probably completely ruined. I casually answered one of the constantly ringing calls from an unknown number. As soon as I picked it up, an enraged voice came from the other end of the phone. Ivy, what the hell are you doing? His voice was furious. As if he wished he could come out of the phone and strangle me. I smiled and said softly. Can't you see what I'm doing? Ivy. You're so damn cruel. I've worked hard for so many years to get a job. And now you've ruined it. You deserve to die a horrible death. Hank was furious. Don't you know this has already spread? Delete the Weibo post immediately and say that you were just talking nonsense. I sneered. Take a good look at yourself in the mirror. Don't disgust me. Okay? You're so shameless and living off a woman. Aren't you afraid of breaking your teeth? Ivy. Shut the fuck up. Delete the Weibo post for me right now. Otherwise, I'll sue you for defamation and make you go to jail. If you don't let me have an easy life, you won't have one either. I was really angered into laughter. I was blind before. But now I realized that this idiot was not only greedy for money but also stupid. Hank. I beg you to sue me quickly. Besides, I'll tell you again that there's still 1 day left until the deadline I gave you. If you still don't return my car to me, you'll bear the consequences yourself. By then, having fulfilled my sigh, I snorted coldly. I don't know who will end up in jail. After saying that, I hung up the phone. So satisfying. The true face of this idiot should be known by more people to warn women of the right age. I've really done a good deed. Just after hanging up the phone, Lily, having fulfilled my assertion, who worked in the same company as Hank, called me. Lily was my university classmate and we used to get along quite well. She was probably going to tell me something about Hank. Sure enough, as soon as I picked up the phone, Lily said gleefully, Ivy. Have you heard? Hank was fired. Damn. Our manager was so furious. He said that Hank didn't even know how to live off a woman properly and told him to pack up and go home to eat what his mother cooked. It's a pity you weren't there at the scene. Hank's face turned green. He even knelt down to beg the manager. It was so satisfying to watch. I felt contented and said, the best is yet to come. It was impossible for Hank to return my car to me. I still had a tough battle to fight with this family. After reading all the messages, I lay on the bed and scrolled through the Weibo comments. The popular ones were all scolding Hank. This Weibo post already had tens of thousands of comments. Not only in our local area, but also many netizens from other places who loved gossip flocked in. I suddenly came across one comment, here's the gossip. The scumbag has been persuaded to leave the company. I have pictures of the scene. There was also a popular comment that really made me laugh. This time I sided with the male lead. Immediately after that, when I clicked on the first reply to this comment, it was his own reply. Of his grave. And the comments below were all like, didn't hold back the knife. Take him out and bury him properly. I slowly scrolled through the comments. There were also some trolls jumping up and down. But I didn't need to reply. The gossip-loving crowd had already scolded them away. I sighed. It wasn't really that I wanted to make such a big fuss. But nice guys always get bullied. If people step on my face, I have no choice but to fight back. When I woke up, it was already past 10 o'clock. It was the first good sleep I'd had in days. I looked at my watch, waiting for Hank to return my car so that I could have nothing to do with him ever again. However, from 10 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night, there was no movement at all. I knew his family wouldn't return the car so easily. They probably planned to play dirty and thought that I would at most argue with them verbally and wouldn't really do anything. Since that's the case, don't blame me. The next morning, my friend and I went to Hank's house early. Our family lived in the city center, while Hank's family lived in the suburbs. It took about 40 to 50 minutes to get there. As soon as I arrived downstairs, I saw the BMW parked in a parking space on the side. Hank had even put stickers on my car. He really thought it was his. I didn't go upstairs. Instead, I shouted loudly downstairs. Hank, get the hell out. Aren't you willing to pester me? I'm here today. Return my car to me right now. The house was silent for a moment at first, and then Hank's mother's cursing came from upstairs. She ran downstairs with a thumping sound, cursing as she ran. Little slut. How dare you come to my house? You're looking for death. This voice was so familiar. Shrill and disgusting. Hank's neighbors all stuck their heads out of the windows. And everyone had an expression of enjoying the show. A middle-aged woman was holding a shovel in her hand and looked at me excitedly, saying, Hey, look, look, isn't this the daughter-in-law of the old Hank family? They've only been married for a few days. How come she's already fighting with her mother-in-law? They didn't get married. Another old lady said mysteriously. A few days ago, I heard Hank's mother say that his fiancé called off the wedding and even had an abortion. Oh my. She probably isn't an easy person then. Definitely not. The old lady said with a smile. You know what kind of person Hank's mother is. She's really good at making life difficult for her daughter-in-law. Listening to Hank's neighbors chatting away, I knew that Hank's mother must have often spoken ill of me behind my back. Since she loves to gossip, does she think others don't have mouths to speak up? I cleared my throat and said loudly. Everyone, please judge this for me. I'm not here to quarrel with their family today. I just want to get my own car back. My family spent 500 yuan on that car. And now Hank has detained it and refuses to give it back to me. What's the deal with seizing a woman's car? An ad called out to me from upstairs. Girl, heading fulfilled my session. Why didn't you get married? I replied calmly. On the wedding day, Hank's mother asked me to return the betrothal gift of 88 yuan. Or else they wouldn't come to pick me up for the wedding. She also wanted my family to give one of our houses to her younger son Gang as a wedding house. My family doesn't have that much money and can't afford to support so many people, so we had no choice but to call off the wedding. As soon as I finished speaking, all the neighbors in the building gasped. The middle-aged woman who had been holding a spatula before and seemed to have a feud with Hank's family added fuel to the fire and said, Oh my. This is really eye-opening. I've never heard of a daughter-in-law having to provide a wedding house for her younger brother-in-law. It seems that she's not acting like a sister-in-law but like a mother instead. Everyone burst out laughing. Hank's mother bared her teeth again and shouted, What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Why are you joining in the fun? You old hag? You're the only one with a mouth. Actually, I should have expected Hank's mother's reaction. I looked at Hank who had come down behind her and said, Hank, I'll just ask you one question. Are you going to return my car or not? Hank couldn't say a word for a long time. But his mother was quick to reply. Return your car? Why should we return your car? That's our family's car. Without my permission. You had my baby aborted. This is the compensation for the mental damage you caused to our Hank. Go back to where you came from. The older sister from before spoke up again. It's the first time I've seen a man asking a woman for compensation for mental damage. Your eldest son has become like a virgin now. When our families with daughters look for partners in the future, We really need to keep our eyes open and avoid such families. I didn't say anything more. Since things had come to this point, I already clearly understood the attitude of Hank's family. I directly picked up my mobile phone and dialed 110. Briefly explaining what had happened. Hank's mother still wouldn't let it go. With a pig-headed face, she said, "Call the police? How dare you call the police? Let's see if the police will bother with your trivial matter." I nodded. Well, let's see if the police will take care of it or not. After a while, a police car drove into the community and stopped in front of the corridor of their house. Two police officers, a man and a woman, got out of the car. "Hello. Was it you who called the police?" The female police officer looked around and asked me. Before I could say anything, Hank's mother preemptively accused me. "Police officers. You must uphold justice for me." An old woman. Our old Hank family painstakingly prepared for the wedding. But the daughter-in-law just called it off without a second thought and even had my grandson aborted. How are we supposed to live? Hank also stepped forward, pointing at me, and said, "Police officers. Just because of some family matters. She's been slandering me everywhere and speaking ill of me, which has caused me to lose my job. This is suspected of slander. You should arrest her." After listening to what they said, the two police officers frowned and turned to me, asking, "Who exactly called the police?" I calmly told the police officers the whole story from beginning to end, and took out my car purchase invoice and vehicle registration certificate. I think they are suspected of intentionally occupying other people's property. But I couldn't get it back by asking. So I called the police for help. "I'm sorry to trouble you." After hearing about my experience, the female police officer showed some sympathy on her face and said, "It's no trouble. It's our duty." Then she turned to Hank's mother and said kindly, "Auntie, look. The girl has taken out her car purchase invoice and vehicle registration certificate. This is indeed someone else's property. We can't interfere in your family disputes. But you should return the car to her." Hearing this, Hank's mother refused to comply. With snot and tears streaming down her face, she said, "You police officers are just bullying ordinary people. What benefits has she given you? She slept with my son for several years. This is the compensation for my son's mental damage." The police officers were even amused by her words and warned her, "Please watch your language. What do you mean by asking what benefit she's given me? Since you can't make things clear, you all come back to the police station with me. Let's go." Hank's mother immediately rolled on the ground, shouting, "Oh my! Oh my! The police are beating people." Seeing his mother being bullied, Hank stepped forward and pushed the female police officer, saying, "What are you doing? I'll expose you if you're not careful." The female police officer's face immediately became serious. Pointing at Hank, she said, "Warning. This is an act of assaulting the police." Before she could finish speaking, Hank's mother immediately got up from the ground, bared her teeth, and let out a shrill scream, "How dare you bully my son? I'll fight you to the death." His mother rushed forward, grabbed the police officer's clothes, and scratched at the police officer's face with her right hand while wailing, "The police are beating people. The police are killing people." I was shocked by what the Hank family was doing in front of me. From the beginning to the end, these two police officers hadn't done anything wrong. Yet the Hank family started to make a scene again. His mother was probably used to solving problems by throwing tantrums, and thought that everyone would fall for it. But these were the police. Did she really think that the police would also be affected by her tricks? How blind I was back then to fall for such a person. It really shocked my expression, meaning it completely changed my views and was unbelievable. The police officer took a step back and shouted loudly, "Stop. This is your second warning." Second warning. Hank's mother pretended not to hear and continued to pester the police officer, "Get out of here. This is our family matter. It's none of your business." Third warning. Put on the handcuffs and take them away. When Hank's mother reached out to scratch the male police officer's eyes again, the male police officer instantly grabbed her arm, pushed her to the ground, quickly put on the handcuffs, and took her to the car. No one present expected things to develop like this. By now, No one cared about the car anymore. Everyone was dumbfounded, watching Hank's mother and Hank being taken into the car. Hank's mother still wouldn't behave. She was crying and wailing. But her movements clearly showed that she was scared and didn't dare to make a scene anymore. "What are you doing? What are you doing? You're bullying ordinary people." This time, the police officers ignored her. They directly started the police car and said to me, "Miss, come with us to make a statement too. There's no room in our car. You can follow us in your car." I never expected things to turn out like this. I nodded, feeling both amused and helpless, and followed the police car. When we arrived at the police station, the Hank family finally became scared and honestly admitted their mistakes to the police, saying that they didn't know the law. However, when it came to the car, his mother still didn't want to return it, insisting that it was the compensation for her son's lost youth. I simply called my parents and a lawyer. In the end, I directly reported the case and filed a lawsuit for intentional occupation of property. At first, Hank's mother was still very tough, thinking that it was a family matter. Later, when the police said that for minor cases, the offender would be sentenced to less than 2 years in prison and also fined, and for serious cases, the sentence would be between 2 and 5 years in prison. She was dumbfounded. She cried and hugged my parents' legs, begging us not to sue. My father sneered and said, "It's too late. We'll return the car to you. Okay? We'll return it." His mother wailed as if it was her own family's car that was being given away. My mother shook her off in disgust and said, "Nonsense. That was originally our family's car. Your son wanted my daughter to go to prison. Well, let him go to prison first." 2 months later, Hank was sentenced to 3 years and 6 months in prison. Now he's completely ruined. His whole life is ruined. Hank's mother followed her son to the court after being released from detention for assaulting the police. When she heard the sentencing result, she fainted on the spot. When she woke up, she cursed our family with the most vulgar and vicious language. Her eyes were full of hatred as if she wanted to devour me alive. I smiled at her and watched as she was directly taken out by the bailiffs for disturbing the order of the court. Now their whole family is ruined. Hank lost his job and went to prison. His younger brother's marriage fell through because there was no wedding house. Hank's mother doesn't have a job either and can only stay at home, and her reputation is ruined. When Hank gets out, the whole family will have to squeeze into a small house of dozens of square meters and live out the rest of their lives like that. When I walked out of the court, I looked at the sky outside and sighed. Actually, I never wanted to make things turn out like this. For me, having fulfilled my obsession, I just wanted to find someone I loved and spend my life with and have a child born out of love. I didn't want to scheme against others, but I also didn't want others to scheme against me. It seems that I won this time, but I also lost a lot. However, the biggest gain is that I saw the true face of that scumbag and avoided this disaster. Sometimes I think that maybe God took pity on me. Otherwise, if we had really gotten married, things wouldn't have ended so easily. My father saw that I was in a low mood and put his arm around my shoulder to comfort me, saying, "Our Ivy is blessed. You'll definitely find a good man in the future." My mother also came over and held my hand, saying, "Yes. Mom will introduce you to a few more when we get back. They're all excellent young men." Looking at their concerned expressions, the gloom in my heart gradually dissipated. I still have my family who loves me the most and countless possibilities. And those who once hurt me can only stay in prison for a long time. What could be better than this? "Okay," I said with a smile. "Introduce 10 of them to me." The end.